Why do so many people crumble under pressure while a few seem unshakable? In a society obsessed with quick fixes and comfort, we've forgotten that real strength is built in discomfort. Not in ease. Is mental toughness something you're born with, or is it something you build? Modern culture glorifies natural talent, but the truth is the strongest people aren't born that way. They forge their resilience through choices most of us try to avoid. What if avoiding struggle is the very thing that's keeping you weak? In today's world of instant gratification and endless distractions, comfort has become a prison, and the key to freedom is found in discipline and resilience. Welcome to StoicCraft, the channel where ancient wisdom meets modern life. Here we take the timeless lessons of Stoic philosophy and apply them to the chaos, uncertainty, and challenges of our age so you can build unshakable strength, clarity, and resilience. Strength is not something you stumble upon by luck or chance. It's not waiting for you around the corner of some easy moment in life. True strength is something you deliberately build, brick by brick, one decision at a time, especially when life throws its hardest challenges your way. You don't become mentally strong by avoiding storms or running from discomfort. You become strong by walking into those storms with a steady heart, with the quiet conviction that somehow, some way, you'll endure and emerge wiser. Every hardship, every doubt, and every failure is not a dead end. It's an invitation, an opportunity to grow into someone who doesn't just survive difficulties, but thrives because of them. Here's the unshakable truth. Your mind is your greatest weapon, but only if you take the time to train it. Too many people wait for the perfect moment to start building mental strength, but that moment never arrives. Growth doesn't happen when life is easy. It happens in discomfort, in uncertainty, in those critical moments when you want to give up, but instead you take one more step forward. Mental strength is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about learning how to stay grounded, how to stand tall, even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. If you've ever wondered why some people remain unshakable while others collapse under pressure, here's the reason. It's not luck, and it's not genetics. It's a decision. Over and over, they chose to train the way they think, to strengthen how they respond, and to build a way of living that makes them resilient. That same decision is available to you. You don't have to let circumstances define you. You can become the kind of person who faces storms with clarity, courage, and purpose. Because storms will always come. That's inevitable. But if you train your mind, storms don't control you. They shape you. They reveal a kind of strength no one can ever take away. The foundation of mental strength. Mental strength isn't a mysterious gift given to a chosen few. It doesn't suddenly appear overnight. It is a skill, a discipline, built through intentional habits, repeated actions, and the courage to face discomfort instead of running from it. At its core, mental strength is about stability, the ability to remain grounded when chaos swirls, to think clearly when emotions want to drag you into rash decisions, and to keep moving forward even when the path ahead is foggy. Think of your mind as a fortress. If the foundation is weak, the first storm will bring it down. But if the foundation is strong, no matter how fierce the winds blow, you will remain standing. That's why true strength begins with the inner work most people try to avoid. It requires awareness, becoming conscious of your thoughts, examining your patterns, and challenging the false beliefs that keep you stuck. It also means making peace with an uncomfortable truth. Life will never go perfectly according to plan. Setbacks, disappointments, and moments of self-doubt will come, but the mentally strong don't run from these realities. They embrace them. They understand that adversity is not an enemy, it's training. Every obstacle is a weight you lift. Just like in physical fitness, the more you lift, the stronger you become. Here's the catch, though. Just as you can't get fit by going to the gym once, you can't build resilience by surviving one tough day. Mental strength is a daily practice. Every morning, you face a choice to control your attitude, your focus, and your actions, or to let the world control them for you. Those three: attitude, focus, and action are the only things truly within your power. This is where discipline and awareness come together. You train your mind not to be swayed by every passing mood, not to crumble under pressure, and not to abandon your values when temptation or challenge appears. You build habits that reinforce your strength, starting your day with clarity, cutting out distractions that drain your energy, and surrounding yourself with people who challenge you to grow. You also learn to rest, because strength isn't only about pushing forward, it's about recovery so you can keep going. And remember this: the foundation of mental strength is built in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It's in the small decisions, the ones that seem ordinary but shape who you are. Choosing to have that difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. Keeping a promise you made to yourself even when it's inconvenient. Saying no to opportunities that don't align with your priorities. Over time, these small acts compound into a powerful framework that can withstand stress, criticism, and uncertainty. The goal isn't to eliminate struggle. That's impossible. The goal is to become the kind of person who can endure struggle without losing yourself. When you commit to this path, you'll find that life's storms no longer feel like threats. They feel like tests you're ready to pass. And with every test, your foundation grows stronger. Your confidence grows deeper, and your ability to face the world without being shaken expands. Understanding self-discipline is the bridge between wishing for a better life and actually creating one. It's the quiet, often uncelebrated force that keeps you moving forward long after motivation has faded. Motivation is temporary, burns bright, and then disappears. But discipline stays. Discipline is what carries you through the days when you're tired, uninspired, or overwhelmed. People often misunderstand discipline. They think it means a life without joy, as if it's about constant sacrifice and rigid control. But true discipline isn't punishment. True discipline is freedom. It's the ability to chart a course for yourself and stay on it, no matter how many distractions, temptations, or excuses try to pull you off track. Discipline is what separates those who only talk about change from those who actually transform their lives. To understand discipline, you have to start with your why. Without a compelling reason, discipline feels like a burden. But when you know why you're working towards something, when it deeply matters to you, discipline becomes purpose. Waking up early to exercise, saying no to an unhealthy habit, pushing yourself to work on a goal after a long day, all of that becomes bearable, even energizing when you can connect it to something meaningful. Discipline is what anchors your mind when your emotions want to give up. It's what keeps you steady when others falter. It's what builds a life of strength, clarity, and resilience. And most importantly, discipline is proof to yourself that you can be trusted, that your word means something, even to you. That's where freedom begins. Your why is the anchor that holds you steady when the waters of life get rough. Without it, you drift aimlessly, chasing whatever feels good in the moment, never building anything lasting. Your why is what transforms fleeting effort into long-term growth. It's the reason you rise again after setbacks, the reason you push forward when no one is watching. Without it, discipline feels like a burden. With it, discipline becomes direction. But discipline doesn't grow on motivation alone. It thrives on structure. You can't expect to fight daily battles with sheer willpower and not burn out. Discipline is about designing your environment so it supports your goals. That means cutting away unnecessary temptations, managing your time with intention, and setting up small but deliberate steps that compound into larger wins. When you have systems, habits, routines, clear boundaries, you no longer need to negotiate with yourself every day. The decision is already made, and all you have to do is follow through. And here's the overlooked truth. Discipline is not about perfection. You will stumble. You will have days when you don't follow through. But the difference between people who remain disciplined and those who give up isn't that the disciplined never fail, it's how they respond when they do. The disciplined don't waste energy on guilt or shame. They simply get back on track. They know one slip doesn't ruin the journey, but quitting does. At its core, discipline is an act of self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce the belief that you can trust yourself. And the more you trust yourself, the bolder your goals become, because now you know you can carry them through. It's a cycle that builds on itself. Discipline creates trust. Trust fuels bigger action, and bigger action creates extraordinary results. That's the true power of self-discipline, not just surviving the hard days, but transforming into someone who refuses to give up on what matters most, embracing fear and anxiety. Fear and anxiety are emotions most people spend their lives trying to escape. They avoid them, numb them, or run from them. Yet ironically, these two feelings are some of the most powerful signals you'll ever receive. They often mark the exact place where growth begins. Fear isn't proof you're weak, it's proof you're stretching beyond what you know. Anxiety isn't evidence that you're broken, it's evidence that you're stepping into something uncertain, something meaningful. The problem isn't that you fear. The real problem is when you let fear decide the direction of your life. People who are mentally strong know that fear is not a red light telling you to stop. It's a yellow light telling you to slow down, prepare, and focus. Think back to your life's most meaningful achievements, the first job interview that mattered, the difficult conversation you didn't want to have, the leap into an opportunity that scared you. Fear and anxiety were standing right beside you in all of those moments. Your trembling hands, your racing heartbeat, the voice whispering, "What if this goes wrong?" None of those were signs of weakness. They were signs of significance. The key is to reframe fear. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What might I gain if I try?" Instead of thinking, "What if this is too hard?" ask, "What kind of strength will I build by facing this?" Anxiety, too, can be transformed. It doesn't need to be eliminated. It needs to be redirected. Use that heightened energy to sharpen your focus, to move with intention. This is where practices like mindfulness and controlled breathing become essential. They don't erase the emotion, but they give you the grounding to act in spite of it. Mentally strong people also understand a hard truth. Comfort is often the enemy of growth. If you spend your life chasing comfort, you'll miss the very experiences that shape courage, resilience, and confidence. Fear is simply the toll you pay for stepping outside the familiar. And while it may feel uncomfortable in the moment, that toll is always cheaper than the lifelong cost of regret. The more you face fear intentionally, the less power it has. What once felt impossible becomes routine. What once terrified you becomes normal. By embracing fear and anxiety, you stop seeing them as obstacles and start seeing them as guides pointers to the challenges that matter most. You stop being ruled by what if and start living in even if. Even if it's hard, even if I'm scared, even if I fail, I will still try. That is the mindset of true mental strength. Building positive habits. Here's the truth about success. Whether it's in your career, your health, or your relationships, it rarely comes from one massive breakthrough. More often, it comes from small, repeated actions that compound over time. Positive habits are the hidden engine behind lasting change. They're the quiet proof of your commitment to yourself. But here's the challenge. Building habits isn't about doing something once. It's about weaving it into your identity. Habits are powerful because they remove the need for constant decision-making. Once a behavior becomes automatic, you no longer waste energy debating whether or not you'll do it. It just happens like brushing your teeth or locking the door at night. That's when real progress begins, not through heroic effort, but through consistent repetition. Every habit is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Every repeated action, no matter how small, cements that identity. And over time, those small steps accumulate into transformations so big they look like miracles from the outside. But they're not miracles. They're the natural result of disciplined choices, stacked day after day. Building positive habits. Many people fail at building positive habits because they try to overhaul their entire life in one night. They go from doing almost nothing to setting extreme goals that demand an unrealistic level of willpower. That approach rarely lasts. True mental strength is built the opposite way, by starting small, staying consistent, and letting those small wins compound into lasting identity. If you want to read more, don't force yourself into an hour-long session right away. Begin with 10 focused minutes a day. If you want to exercise consistently, don't jump into a 2-hour routine. Start with short, manageable workouts until the rhythm becomes second nature. These small victories create momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. Once it's rolling, it carries you forward even on days when your motivation has disappeared. One of the most effective tools for creating habits is called habit stacking. This means linking a new action to something you already do so it fits naturally into your day. For example, if you want to meditate, attach it to an existing routine. Right after I brush my teeth in the morning, I'll sit for 2 minutes of mindful breathing. By tying the new behavior to an established anchor, you reduce resistance and increase the odds of it sticking. But habits aren't formed in isolation. Your environment plays a massive role. If your surroundings constantly tempt you to break your habits, you'll struggle. If you're trying to eat healthier, but your fridge is filled with junk food, you're setting yourself up for failure. Shape your environment so it supports your goals. Keep the good options visible. Make the less helpful ones harder to access, and you'll find yourself naturally gravitating toward better choices. Tracking progress is another powerful motivator. There's something deeply satisfying about seeing your effort laid out in front of you, your streaks, your repetitions, your consistency. Progress turns an abstract idea into something tangible, something you can see and celebrate. And when you inevitably miss a day, don't treat it as failure. Treat it as part of the process. Missing once doesn't erase weeks of effort. Quitting does. The true magic of habits is not just in what you do, but in who you become. Each time you follow through, you send yourself a message. I am the kind of person who keeps promises to myself. Over time, this identity shift makes habits easier to maintain because they stop being chores on a checklist and become part of who you are. When your daily actions align with your values, you build a foundation of mental strength that no setback can shake. That's the real power of habits. They turn effort into identity, and identity into lasting success. The power of mindfulness. Mindfulness is often misunderstood as sitting in silence for hours or trying to empty your mind completely. But true mindfulness is much simpler and much more practical. It's about learning to live fully in the present moment without letting the noise of the past or the uncertainty of the future hijack your attention. In a world where your phone, your work, and your worries constantly demand your focus, mindfulness is the discipline that allows you to slow down enough to notice what's actually happening, both around you and inside you. It's the deliberate act of paying attention on purpose. Drinking your morning coffee, walking to work, talking with someone you care about, all of these become opportunities to be fully here, instead of rushing to what's next or replaying what's already gone. Why does this matter for mental strength? Because mindfulness gives you control over your attention, and attention is the root of your reactions. When you're present, you can observe your thoughts and emotions instead of being ruled by them. You create a pause, a small but powerful space between stimulus and response. And in that space lives your greatest strength, the ability to choose clarity over chaos, discipline over impulse. Instead of being pulled into every negative thought, you can watch it pass like a cloud. Instead of reacting with anger or panic, you can respond with purpose. Over time, this skill of pausing, observing, and choosing builds resilience stronger than almost anything else. You don't need hours of meditation to practice mindfulness. Anchor it to everyday moments. Breathe deeply while waiting in line. Take a few seconds to actually taste your food before swallowing. Pause before replying in a conversation so you truly hear what the other person said. These micro practices add up, training your mind to stay centered even in stressful situations. Science confirms what the Stoics intuited long ago. Regular mindfulness practice reduces stress, improves focus, enhances relationships, and even changes the brain itself. It strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation. But beyond the data, there's a quieter, deeper benefit. Life becomes richer. You stop sleepwalking through your days. You notice the beauty in small things. You feel more grounded, more connected, more alive. Mindfulness isn't about detaching from life. It's about engaging with it more deeply. It's about showing up fully for yourself, for the people around you, and for the moment you're in. The more you cultivate it, the more you realize that the present moment, this breath, this choice, this step is where all your power truly lies. And when you live from that place, mental strength stops being abstract. It becomes the way you walk through the world every single day. Building positive habits. Here's the truth about success, whether it's in your career, your health, or your relationships. It rarely comes from one massive breakthrough. More often, it comes from small, repeated actions that compound over time. Positive habits are the hidden engine behind lasting change. They're the quiet proof of your commitment to yourself. But here's the challenge. Building habits isn't about doing something once. It's about weaving it into your identity. Habits are powerful because they remove the need for constant decision-making. Once a behavior becomes automatic, you no longer waste energy debating whether or not you'll do it. It just happens, like brushing your teeth or locking the door at night. That's when real progress begins, not through heroic effort, but through consistent repetition. Every habit is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Every repeated action, no matter how small, cements that identity. And over time, those small steps accumulate into transformations so big they look like miracles from the outside. But they're not miracles. They're the natural result of disciplined choices, stacked day after day. Building positive habits. Many people fail at building positive habits because they try to overhaul their entire life in one night. They go from doing almost nothing to setting extreme goals that demand an unrealistic level of willpower. That approach rarely lasts. True mental strength is built the opposite way, by starting small, staying consistent, and letting those small wins compound into lasting identity. If you want to read more, don't force yourself into an hour-long session right away. Begin with 10 focused minutes a day. If you want to exercise consistently, don't jump into a 2-hour routine. Start with short, manageable workouts until the rhythm becomes second nature. These small victories create momentum, and momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. Once it's rolling, it carries you forward even on days when your motivation has disappeared. One of the most effective tools for creating habits is called habit stacking. This means linking a new action to something you already do so it fits naturally into your day. For example, if you want to meditate, attach it to an existing routine. Right after I brush my teeth in the morning, I'll sit for 2 minutes of mindful breathing. By tying the new behavior to an established anchor, you reduce resistance and increase the odds of it sticking. But habits aren't formed in isolation. Your environment plays a massive role. If your surroundings constantly tempt you to break your habits, you'll struggle. If you're trying to eat healthier, but your fridge is filled with junk food, you're setting yourself up for failure. Shape your environment so it supports your goals. Keep the good options visible. Make the less helpful ones harder to access. and you'll find yourself naturally gravitating toward better choices. Tracking progress is another powerful motivator. There's something deeply satisfying about seeing your effort laid out in front of you, your streaks, your repetitions, your consistency. Progress turns an abstract idea into something tangible, something you can see and celebrate. And when you inevitably miss a day, don't treat it as failure. Treat it as part of the process. Missing once doesn't erase weeks of effort. Quitting does. The true magic of habits is not just in what you do, but in who you become. Each time you follow through, you send yourself a message. I am the kind of person who keeps promises to myself. Over time, this identity shift makes habits easier to maintain because they stop being chores on a checklist and become part of who you are. When your daily actions align with your values, you build a foundation of mental strength that no setback can shake. That's the real power of habits. They turn effort into identity, and identity into lasting success. The power of mindfulness. Mindfulness is often misunderstood as sitting in silence for hours or trying to empty your mind completely. But true mindfulness is much simpler and much more practical. It's about learning to live fully in the present moment, without letting the noise of the past or the uncertainty of the future hijack your attention. In a world where your phone, your work, and your worries constantly demand your focus, mindfulness is the discipline that allows you to slow down enough to notice what's actually happening, both around you and inside you. It's the deliberate act of paying attention on purpose, drinking your morning coffee, walking to work, talking with someone you care about. All of these become opportunities to be fully here, instead of rushing to what's next or replaying what's already gone. Why does this matter for mental strength? Because mindfulness gives you control over your attention, and attention is the root of your reactions. When you're present, you can observe your thoughts and emotions instead of being ruled by them. You create a pause, a small but powerful space between stimulus and response. And in that space lives your greatest strength, the ability to choose clarity over chaos, discipline over impulse. Instead of being pulled into every negative thought, you can watch it pass like a cloud. Instead of reacting with anger or panic, you can respond with purpose. Over time, this skill of pausing, observing, and choosing builds resilience stronger than almost anything else. You don't need hours of meditation to practice mindfulness. Anchor it to everyday moments. Breathe deeply while waiting in line. Take a few seconds to actually taste your food before swallowing. Pause before replying in a conversation so you truly hear what the other person said. These micro practices add up, training your mind to stay centered even in stressful situations. Science confirms what the Stoics intuited long ago. Regular mindfulness practice reduces stress, improves focus, enhances relationships, and even changes the brain itself. It strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation. But beyond the data, there's a quieter, deeper benefit. Life becomes richer. You stop sleepwalking through your days. You notice the beauty in small things. You feel more grounded, more connected, more alive. Mindfulness isn't about detaching from life. It's about engaging with it more deeply. It's about showing up fully for yourself, for the people around you, and for the moment you're in. The more you cultivate it, the more you realize that the present moment, this breath, this choice, this step is where all your power truly lies. And when you live from that place, mental strength stops being abstract. It becomes the way you walk through the world every single day. The role of gratitude is not about waiting for life to be perfect before you appreciate it. It's about choosing to notice what's still good, even when life feels far from ideal. It's the decision to shift your attention from what's missing to what's already present. This doesn't mean you ignore real challenges. It means you refuse to let them blind you to the quiet blessings that make life worth living. When you practice gratitude consistently, you begin to feel how it rewires your mental state. It interrupts the cycle of endless comparison that fuels dissatisfaction. It softens the pull of negative thoughts that insist you'll only be happy when you achieve more, buy more, or become more. Gratitude pulls you back into the reality that right now, in this moment, you already have things worth valuing: your health, your relationships, your opportunities, the lessons you've learned, even the strength that's carrying you through today's struggles. This awareness builds resilience because it brings balance. Instead of being consumed by what's difficult, you're reminded that good still exists alongside the hard. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel better, it actually reshapes your brain. Neuroscience shows that consistent gratitude practice increases activity in regions linked to empathy, awareness, and emotional regulation. Over time, this makes you calmer under pressure and less reactive to stress. It's not magic, it's training. You're teaching your mind to see what's working, not just what's broken. Practical gratitude isn't complicated. Start or end your day by writing down 3 thankful for, even if they're small. Take a mindful pause during a stressful afternoon to notice one thing that's still going right. Express appreciation to someone who has helped you through a message, a conversation, or even silent acknowledgement. These small acts create a habit of appreciation, and over time, they change your default perspective. But gratitude also requires humility. It means admitting you're not entirely self-made, that others have contributed to your journey, and that life has handed you gifts you didn't fully earn. That humility is grounding. It keeps entitlement, the enemy of mental strength, at bay. A person who feels entitled becomes bitter when life doesn't go their way. A person who is grateful adapts because they can still find meaning, even in loss. Whether it's a lesson learned, a relationship discovered, or resilience uncovered, gratitude turns even hardship into growth. Ultimately, gratitude is not a passive reaction, it's a deliberate choice. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance, from frustration to appreciation, from chasing what's missing to embracing what's here. And when you live in that mindset, life stops being a constant race and starts becoming a collection of moments you actually get to experience fully. Gratitude doesn't just make life feel lighter, it makes you stronger because it teaches you to find joy in uncertainty and stability in the middle of storms. Negative thoughts aren't the enemy, they're part of being human. The problem comes when you hand them the steering wheel of your mind and let them decide the direction of your life. Left unchecked, negative thinking can turn small challenges into overwhelming problems. It can convince you that you're powerless when you're not, or drain your energy before you've even taken the first step toward progress. Managing these thoughts doesn't mean pretending they don't exist, or forcing yourself to think positive all the time. It's about learning how to recognize them, question them, and choose healthier responses before they control your actions. The first step is awareness. You can't change a thought you don't notice. This is why mindfulness is such a powerful ally. It trains you to step back and watch your thoughts instead of being consumed by them. When a negative thought shows up, treat it like a visitor knocking at your door. You get to decide whether to invite it in, and if you do, how long it stays. A thought's presence doesn't make it true. The mind is full of old patterns, shaped by past experiences, fears, and the opinions of others. By pausing to ask, is this thought accurate? Is it useful? Does it move me closer to the person I want to be? You begin to reclaim control. Another powerful practice is reframing. Reframing doesn't mean sugarcoating reality. It means looking at the bigger picture. If you fail at something, instead of telling yourself, I'm terrible at this, you can reframe it as, this is showing me what I need to improve. If someone criticizes you, instead of assuming they hate me, you might think, this is feedback I can use to understand how others perceive me. Reframing turns setbacks into lessons, and over time, it trains your mind to think more constructively and with greater resilience. Your environment also plays a role. If you surround yourself with people who constantly complain, gossip, or feed negativity, your own thinking will inevitably mirror that. But if you fill your space with positive influences, uplifting people, thoughtful books, inspiring podcasts, you change your mental diet. These healthy inputs strengthen your mindset in the same way good food strengthens your body. One underrated but highly effective tool is writing your thoughts down. Putting words on paper creates distance. What feels overwhelming in your head often looks smaller and more manageable once it's written in front of you. From there, you can question it, reframe it, or create a plan to respond. Writing prevents thoughts from circling endlessly in your mind and frees up mental energy for solutions instead of spirals. When you manage negative thoughts this way, they stop being drivers of your life and become background noise you can navigate. You don't need to silence every doubt or fear, you just need to stop giving them the authority to control your direction. And that shift alone can transform how you experience every challenge. Managing negative thoughts. The ultimate goal is not to eliminate negative thoughts. You can't. The goal is to keep them in their rightful place. They can be signals, warnings, or reminders, but they are not your identity. The more you practice noticing them without judgment, questioning them without fear, and replacing them with thoughts that serve your growth, the less influence they hold over you. With time, something powerful happens. The voice in your head that once held you back becomes quieter, while the voice that urges you forward grows, louder and clearer. That is the power of mental training. You stop being your own worst enemy and start becoming your greatest ally. Setting healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They are doors that you control, deciding who and what gets access to your time, your energy, and your peace of mind. Without them, you become vulnerable to burnout, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. With them, you create the space to protect your well-being and to show up in life with clarity and strength. Setting boundaries is not selfish, it is an act of self-respect. It says, "I value my life enough to decide how it will be lived." For anyone serious about building mental strength, boundaries aren't optional. They are essential. The first step is knowing your limits. Many struggle here because they've been conditioned to think that saying yes is always virtuous, even if it costs their health or happiness. But every yes comes at the price of something else. Agree to work late every night and you say no to rest, to family, and to health. Accept constant disrespect from someone, and you silently say no to your own dignity. Recognizing where you feel drained, resentful, or taken advantage of is your starting point for drawing lines. Once you know your limits, the next step is communication. This is often the hardest part, not because people don't know what they need, but because they fear how others will react. But the truth is simple. People who respect you will respect your boundaries. Those who don't are showing you exactly why those boundaries are necessary. Boundaries don't require aggression. You can be firm without being hostile. A calm, steady statement, like "I can't take on extra work right now," or "I'm not comfortable with that conversation," speaks volumes without conflict. The real test, however, is in enforcement. Some will push against your limits, hoping you'll bend. This is where mental strength shows itself. If you set a boundary but never uphold it, you're teaching others that it's negotiable. Consistency and courage are required. And here's something most people miss. Boundaries don't just benefit you. They improve your relationships. They prevent resentment, foster clarity, and make interactions more genuine. They protect your focus, ensuring your energy goes into what matters most. In a world full of noise and demands, that kind of focus is a superpower. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They're about protecting the space you need to live with integrity. They allow you to give freely because you've chosen to, not because you're pressured to. When you uphold them with strength, you send a clear message to the world. My time, my energy, and my peace are valuable, and I will treat them that way. The importance of self-care is not indulgence. It's not a luxury you earn only after working yourself to exhaustion. It is a necessity, the foundation of your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Without it, everything else eventually suffers. You can only pour out so much before your own energy, patience, and clarity run dry. When that happens, you're not only less effective for others, you're less present for yourself. The mistake many make is confusing self-care with selfishness. In truth, it's the opposite. When you care for yourself, you preserve the strength needed to keep showing up for the world. Self-care begins with awareness. Too often we ignore the signs of burnout, fatigue, irritability, lack of motivation until they become impossible to ignore. Mentally strong people notice earlier. They know that rest is not weakness, it's strategy. Just as athletes build recovery days into their training, we need recovery for our minds and bodies. Without it, even the strongest collapse. And here's the truth. Self-care is deeply personal. For some, it's exercise at dawn. For others, it's journaling, reading, or a quiet walk in nature. It could be meaningful conversation with someone who truly listens. What matters is identifying what recharges you and then making it a non-negotiable part of your routine. Consistency is key. One act of self-care is like a glass of water on a hot day. It helps, but it won't sustain you. True change comes when self-care is woven into your lifestyle. And yes, sometimes it's uncomfortable. It may mean saying no to extra commitments, ending toxic relationships, or leaving environments that drain you. Real self-care is not about candles or spa days. It's about building habits that sustain your strength. It's about respecting yourself enough to rest, enough to recover, and enough to protect your mind. That is how you ensure you can keep going without breaking down. Self-care means being honest about what's truly good for you, even when it disappoints others. True mental strength comes from realizing you cannot please everyone without breaking yourself in the process. There's a deeper truth here. When you consistently take care of yourself, you set the standard for how others treat you. Through your actions, you teach people that your health, your peace, and your time matter. And something remarkable happens. You don't just protect yourself, you also become more present for the people and projects that matter most. It's not selfishness, it's wisdom. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and when your needs are met, your capacity to give, to support, and to create expands exponentially. Self-care is ultimately about respect for your body, your mind, and your life. It means nurturing yourself not only in calm seasons, but especially when life is demanding. Think of it as a long-term investment in your resilience. The more you prioritize it, the more you'll see it's not simply about feeling better. It's about becoming stronger, more stable, and more capable of facing whatever storms life brings. Cultivating emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is one of the most underestimated forms of strength. It's not just about being kind or agreeable. It's the ability to understand your own emotions, manage them with clarity, and respond to the emotions of others with empathy and awareness. Physical strength and sharp intellect are valuable, but without emotional intelligence, both can be undermined by conflict, miscommunication, or impulsive reactions. With it, however, you gain the composure and insight to handle situations that overwhelm most people. It begins with self-awareness. You can't manage what you don't understand. Do you lash out when frustrated? Shut down when anxious? Self-awareness means spotting these patterns and asking why they occur. Instead of being at the mercy of your feelings, you become an observer with the power to choose how you respond. The next step is self-regulation, the ability to stay composed when emotions run high. This doesn't mean denying your feelings. It means refusing to let them dictate your actions. Anger may rise, but you pause before you speak. Fear may grip you, but you breathe and assess before you decide. This is your internal braking system, protecting you from actions you'll later regret. Then comes empathy. It doesn't mean agreeing with everyone or letting emotions overrule logic. It means recognizing what others are feeling and why. That awareness builds trust, strengthens relationships, and makes cooperation possible, even in tense situations. Social skills flow from here. Active listening, conflict resolution, clear communication. These transform awareness into action. People with strong emotional intelligence can diffuse tension, navigate disagreements, and inspire cooperation. And finally, self-motivation, the ability to keep moving forward, not because of external applause, but because you are driven by inner purpose. It's the discipline of turning frustration into determination and disappointment into fresh effort. The best part? Emotional intelligence isn't fixed. You can develop it by practicing reflection before reaction, by asking questions before judging, and by training yourself to pause when emotions flare. Strength isn't only about endurance, it's also about the wisdom to navigate the emotions that accompany endurance. When you cultivate emotional intelligence, you don't just become mentally stronger, you also equip yourself with the tools to connect deeply, communicate effectively, and live with steadiness in a chaotic world. Building a support system. No one becomes mentally strong in isolation. Strength may be forged within, but it is sustained and reinforced by the people you allow close to you. A support system isn't about surrounding yourself with cheerleaders who only say what you want to hear. It's about cultivating relationships that challenge you, encourage you, and hold you accountable to your highest potential. These are the people who remind you of your strength when you forget, who provide perspective when you're trapped in your own head, and who offer honest feedback even when it's uncomfortable to hear. The first step is intentionality. Not everyone deserves front-row access to your life. Mentally strong people recognize that relationships either feed your growth or drain it. There's rarely neutral ground. That means seeking out individuals who respect your boundaries, share your values, and demonstrate consistency in both words and actions. Building a support system is less about quantity and more about quality. A few trusted voices are far more valuable than a crowd of superficial connections. And when your circle is strong, you'll discover that resilience doesn't mean walking alone. It means knowing who walks beside you when the path gets difficult. A strong support system doesn't just happen by accident. It's cultivated with intention. That means learning to distance yourself from those who constantly criticize without offering solutions, who take without ever giving, or who pull you away from your goals rather than closer to them. Mentally strong people know their environment shapes their growth, so they guard it carefully. True support is built on reciprocity. It's not about having people to lean on when times get hard. It's about being someone others can lean on too. This mutual investment creates the trust that anchors relationships through life's inevitable storms. Trust is the backbone of any bond that doesn't just survive challenges but grows stronger because of them. But here's the truth. Support systems require effort. They thrive on consistent connection, honesty, and vulnerability. Vulnerability, often mistaken as weakness, is actually the gateway to deeper bonds. When you open up about your struggles, you give others permission to do the same. That honesty creates an environment where real help can be given without judgment and where resilience is shared, not shouldered alone. The strongest networks are also diverse. When you surround yourself with people from different backgrounds, life stages, and professions, you gain perspectives that help you see problems and solutions from angles you'd never consider on your own. Sometimes the most valuable guidance comes from someone who has no personal stake in your situation, because they see it with clarity you can't. And perhaps most importantly, your support system should inspire you. Being around people who are disciplined, resilient, and purpose-driven naturally elevates your own standards. Remember the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Your circle is a mirror of your future. Choose wisely, and you'll find that strength doesn't mean walking alone. It means walking with the right people beside you. Overcoming setbacks. Setbacks are not evidence of failure. They are evidence that you're in the arena, trying. Every person who has built something meaningful has been knocked down often, more than once. The difference between those who stay down and those who rise again isn't luck, talent, or intelligence. It's resilience. Resilience is the decision again and again to get back up, recalibrate, and keep moving even when the road feels endless. The mentally strong know that setbacks aren't the end of the story. They are chapters in the larger book of becoming who you are meant to be. The first step is perspective, separating your identity from the event. Too often we internalize failure as a reflection of self. I failed, therefore I am a failure. But setbacks are not verdicts, they're feedback. They reveal what didn't work, not who you are. That shift in perspective is critical because it keeps you in problem-solving mode rather than self-destructive mode. The next step is evaluation without ego. This takes humility and courage. It means being willing to look at what you could have done differently without falling into self-blame. It's uncomfortable, but it's where real growth begins. From here, you learn what's within your control, what requires a new approach, and what must simply be accepted and released. And remember, recovery doesn't always mean pushing harder. Sometimes it means pausing to regain clarity before trying again. Other times it requires a full pivot, abandoning a path that no longer serves you. Adaptability is the mark of resilience because repeating the same failed strategy will only ensure the same result. Emotionally, setbacks sting. Disappointment, frustration, even grief are natural. But dwelling in those emotions too long turns pain into paralysis. Processing them through journaling, talking with trusted people, or physical activity allows you to release the weight without burying yourself under it. The most powerful way to rebuild is with small steps. After a fall, the next move doesn't need to be monumental, it just needs to be forward. A single small win restores momentum and proves to your mind that you can keep going. With each comeback, you reinforce the belief that you're capable of handling life's blows. Over time, you realize setbacks aren't detours. They are the path, the training ground where character is sharpened and strength is proven. The importance of goal setting. Without goals, life drifts. Days blur together in busyness but lack direction. You may be working hard, but without a target, it's like steering a ship without a destination. You move, but not necessarily toward anything meaningful. Goal setting transforms vague desires into clear destinations. It gives your efforts purpose, turns wishful thinking into actionable steps, and allows you to measure progress along the way. Mentally strong people don't leave their future to chance. They choose where they're going and create a plan to get there. The first power of goal setting is clarity. When you define what you want, you create a filter for your decisions. Every opportunity, request, or task can be evaluated by one question. Does this move me closer to my goal, or does it pull me further away? Without that clarity, it's easy to stay busy while making very little real progress. Goals sharpen your focus, discipline your choices, and transform scattered energy into steady progress. They ensure that the time you spend, the sacrifices you make, and the energy you pour out all build towards something meaningful, rather than dissipating into distractions. Goals prevent your energy from scattering in 100 directions and ensure that your time is invested in what truly matters. Strong goals aren't vague aspirations like "I want to be healthier." They are specific and measurable, such as "I will exercise for 30 minutes 5 days a week." That clarity gives you something tangible to track, evaluate, and celebrate. This is where the SMART framework, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, becomes invaluable. A clear, structured goal allows you to monitor progress, make timely adjustments, and appreciate milestones along the way. Without this clarity, even the most motivated effort can dissolve into frustration. But the most important element is alignment. Goals that don't reflect your values will drain you, even if you achieve them. If your ambitions are rooted only in the expectations of others, they won't have the power to carry you through fatigue and setbacks. That's why mentally strong people choose goals that align with who they want to become, not just what they want to achieve. When your goals reflect your deeper values, the journey itself feels purposeful, even on the hardest days. Breaking massive goals into smaller, realistic steps is also essential. Starting a business, writing a book, or training for a marathon can feel overwhelming when viewed as a whole. But when you break it down into manageable tasks, each small, victory builds momentum. And momentum is one of the most powerful fuels for achievement. Adaptability is another mark of strength. Goals provide direction, but life will always surprise you. Circumstances shift, opportunities evolve, and sometimes holding on to a goal in its original form may no longer serve you. The mentally strong know how to adapt the path without abandoning the purpose. Flexibility ensures that setbacks don't derail your vision. They simply alter the route you take to reach it. Goals also become anchors in difficult seasons. On days when motivation is absent and fatigue is heavy, the memory of why you started can be enough to push you forward. This is why it's vital to keep your goals visible. Write them in a journal, post them on your wall, or set reminders on your phone. When your why stays in front of you, your discipline has something to hold on to. Ultimately, goal setting is about far more than ticking boxes. It's about who you become in the process, their resilience, focus, and character you develop while pursuing your goals remain long after the finish line has been crossed. And that is the true reward, not just achieving one dream, but becoming the kind of person capable of achieving again and again. Sustaining mental strength. Building mental strength is one thing, sustaining it is another. It's easy to feel strong when life is smooth, motivation is high, and progress comes quickly. But real strength isn't tested in calm waters, it's proven in the grind of daily life, in the stretches where progress feels slow, and in the seasons when challenges seem relentless. Sustaining mental strength requires long-term commitment to habits, mindsets, and principles that keep you steady. It's not a temporary project, it's a lifelong practice. The first pillar is consistency. Just as physical fitness demands ongoing training, mental resilience requires ongoing care. You can't train your mind once and expect it to stay unshakable forever. That means regularly practicing mindfulness to stay present, gratitude to keep, perspective, goal setting to maintain direction, and boundaries to protect your energy. These habits are like the structural pillars of a fortress. Remove one and the foundation weakens. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means showing up again and again, even when you don't feel like it. That steady commitment compounds. Over time, creating stability. The second pillar is adaptability. Life changes, and what worked for you last year may not serve you today. Sustaining strength means adjusting your routines and strategies without losing your core values. This flexibility allows you to move with change instead of resisting it, finding new paths when the old ones no longer fit. The third is self-awareness. Without it, you risk slipping into autopilot, repeating actions that no longer serve you or ignoring the early signs of burnout. Regular check-ins with yourself asking, what's working? What isn't? Where do I need to adjust? Keep you aligned and evolving. Your environment also plays a critical role. The people and influences you surround yourself with either reinforce your strength or erode it over time. A supportive circle makes it easier to maintain positive habits, while a toxic one can undo months of progress. Guard your inner circle, limit exposure to negativity, and curate the voices you allow into your head. Another overlooked element is rest and recovery. Strength doesn't come from constant pushing. It comes from cycles of exertion and renewal. Without recovery, you burn out, lose clarity, and weaken your resilience. Making time for rest, hobbies that recharge you, and stillness isn't a luxury. It's strategy for long-term strength. Finally, sustaining mental strength requires purpose. Without a deeper why, discipline fades. Purpose fuels your endurance and gives meaning to the daily choices that keep your mind sharp. When you know what you're working toward and why it matters, you can face hardship without losing direction. In the end, sustaining mental strength is about creating a lifestyle that supports it daily. Small, consistent actions, willingness to adapt, regular self-checks, purpose-driven living. These build a foundation so solid that even life's fiercest storms can't shake it. The ultimate measure of strength of mind isn't measured by how little life challenges you, but by how steadily you walk through challenges without losing yourself. Every principle from building your foundation to setting meaningful goals to sustaining resilience isn't just philosophy. These are tools you can reach for on days when you want to quit. Tools that remind you that no matter what happens, you still control your thoughts, choices, and actions. You will face moments when fear grows loud, when self-doubt creeps in, and when setbacks make you question your worth. But strength doesn't mean you never fall. It means you rise again. It means you choose one more step, one more attempt, one more act of courage. Even when the evidence isn't obvious, the work of resilience never truly ends. But that's the beauty. It means you're always growing, always sharpening, always becoming. You're not chasing one peak to conquer. You're building the ability to climb again and again. That's freedom, the freedom to remain calm in chaos, patient in uncertainty, and focused in distraction. So take these lessons and apply them, not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Start with one small choice aligned with who you want to become. Then another and another. With time, you'll see not only changes in your circumstances, but a transformation in yourself. And when you look back, you'll realize the strength you were searching for wasn't something you had to find. It was something you were building all along. One decision, one challenge, one step at a time. If this message resonates, I want to hear from you. What's one challenge in your life right now where you can choose strength over comfort? Drop your answer in the comments. I read them all. And if you want more practical tools to train your mind and sharpen your resilience, head to the playlist on mental strength and stoicism linked here. Watch the next video. Keep building and keep becoming unshakable.